Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small...
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Ted Lasso, family, and we have part one of our interview with Ian Nicholson from Sanctus.
I'm joined by two blokes who, we've done this for so long, I think I've run out of interesting things to say.
Well, good morning, everybody. Well, I don't know whether it's morning where you're listening to this, but welcome to our... Right, should we start again because I'm coughing? That was my fault. Right, start again, Charlotte. Go on.
Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Kindness Project. I am joined by two blokes who have been here since the start, and now we're very close to the end, I think.
Tis the end. Tis nearly the end of the Kindness Project. I mean, I don't know. Have we said 3:20 now or not?
I don't know what we've said, to be honest.
Oh, look at Russ backtracking. Oh, Russ, it's getting a bit scary.
No, we said 300, and then you kept upping it and upping it. So,
but when I said 3:20, you were like...
Yeah, when you said 3:20, I was like, are you sure that's the number? Or
I might change it.
We're going to get to 3:20 and do 3:40.
Should we play it by ear? Because I do love recording the Kindness Project. So yeah, we will end it at some point very soon. But Charlotte's right, we are near the end. We just don't know where the finish line is at the minute, do we? That's the thing. So we'll see what happens with that. How are we today?
I am good.
Good. Charlotte, how are we doing? You sound a bit sniffly.
Yeah, I've come down with something, but...
Oh, I had that last week.
Fine.
I had something kid lasted probably 4 days. Well, I felt all achy and...
I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. I want to talk about how it's often really weird when people who've listened to the podcast mention listening to the podcast, because we did an interview for one of our guests on Friday, and she kept on mentioning stuff that we talked about in the podcast that I completely forgot. And that was Russell's love of ninja products.
Oh, no.
How could you forget that? We talked about it for like 10 episodes straight.
No, we did. But then we go on to something else, and it's like, okay, that's gone. I mean, we had a stint, Charlotte, where all we talked about was these catchphrases that we'd use, including mind blown. What was the other one?
Like a boss.
Like a boss. And we had a couple of others. And we said, we'll never forget them. Took us about 3 weeks to forget, didn't it? We're going to use those. I'm going to use like a boss forever. Haven't used it since.
No.
And we did have a little non-podcast chat that was meant to be a work call, but turned into just a conversation about life. Just an hour. And you were telling us, Charlotte, about Ted Lasso. Do you want to share a little bit with our listeners on why you're loving Ted Lasso so much?
So good. It's just so good. Have you started watching it yet, by the way?
I haven't. I will do it at some point.
It's so good. But also, like, it's really interesting. Who's the guy I was talking to you about? And, like, he's the reason I started watching it, because I was like, I've seen clips, and he seems to be, like, a bad guy in this as well. And he was King Uther in Merlin.
Something Ken, isn't it?
No, I'm never gonna remember his name.
Oh, Anthony Edge you're talking about.
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him. And I saw clips with him in, and he was...
I didn't even realise he was in it.
He's, he's sort of a recurring villain, if you can call her. But I started watching it, and there's multiple times where they play West Ham, and for listeners of the podcast who don't know, West Ham supporters in this call.
Yeah, well, one, at least, mate.
And I was sort of like, there's a video of me online somewhere singing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles."
Yeah, because we're from the East End of London, as you'd probably realise if you're a regular listener of the podcast. So that is why I support the East London-based club, West Ham, and Russell is support the North London-based club, Tottenham Hotspur.
I blame your cousin for that. The first game he took us to was Tottenham, and I enjoyed their football.
Yeah, they won. They beat us.
And I'm enjoying their football at the moment.
And the glory hunter that Raz is, he thought he'd be a Tottenham fan forever then.
Oh damn! How are you gonna get that past in a family of West Ham supporters?
Well, I mean, the way you get that past is we are not die hard. Well,
no, we're not.
The family are inclusive, so
yeah.
Even widows are allowed in.
Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know.
Are you? I don't think you should say that word, Russ. Don't say that. Don't say it again. But
yeah, I just had like a strong sense of nostalgia when they started singing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles."
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. You know what? That is, and you know what? I'm enjoying a game of FIFA 22 at the minute. I won't pay for the 23, but I'm enjoying a game of FIFA 22. And when you play as West Ham,
I've not played it,
and you play at the London Stadium, not only does it look like what I'm always going to call the Olympic Stadium, not only does it like they've done a perfect recreation, they play bubbles at the start of every game when you're playing, and they have the bubbles. So if you go to the London Stadium and go to a match, they've got a massive bubble machine that pumps out bubbles onto the pitch.
Nice.
Is that in Ted Lasso, Charlotte?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but they've got that in the game. So like literally, they've recreated the start of a West Ham match perfectly. So yeah. So you got nostalgic because it had loads of West Ham clips in.
Yes. Especially like towards the end. I'm sort of coming to the end of the third season now, and
no spoilers.
No spoilers. But you know, so yeah, it's just a good show.
Yeah. Is there only 3 series of it?
There's only 3 seasons. I've been watching some interview clips about it, and it was like they didn't think they were even going to get 3 seasons, so they didn't plan past 3 seasons. Yeah. So there's only 3 seasons for now, but there's been a lot of demand for it.
It's popular, I suppose. They'll have it back.
Yeah,
it's smash hit, hasn't it? People seem to have loved it. What are the themes? Because the themes are quite sweet, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of like, you know, found family. There's a lot of like dealing with grief. There's a lot of tackling like stuff like mental health in men's sports, and it's just a lot. I recommend if you can just watch it.
Well, no, I'm certainly going to give it a go. And when you say found family, as opposed to the family that are just thrust upon you and you've got to put up with, is that what you're saying?
This is always the problem, isn't it?
So, how dare you? Number one, how dare you? And why is it always a problem, Russ?
Well, I love my family when they're at a distance. When they're up close, I'm just...
Right, now hold on.
I've had enough of that.
Hold on. Not only have you offended Cassie, who's...
I love Cassie.
Oh, you're an exception, apparently.
Cassie's the exception.
Oh, all right. You're the exception. You're all right. How about Charlotte?
Charlotte's all right, in small doses.
Yeah, I'm kind of a lot. I know that.
Charlotte's all right in small doses. how about your brother?
Yeah, there's
There's a problem there, is there?
very small doses.
Now, come on, how about Soph?
Sophie, I love Sophie.
So
Come on, the wax,
yeah.
She's
The problem with these-
she's a little noisy, but I do love her.
So I'm the problem here, am I? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
I'm not saying you're a problem, and I do love you, but you can be a bit much sometimes.
Right. Did we have a really good laugh last time you were down?
You was ribbing me terrible.
Right. And you gave me loads and loads of reasons
Yeah, I
to
did.
be terrible. Which was good stuff. But yeah, we had a good time last time,
We
Raz.
did. I had a really good time this time.
Yeah, good stuff.
Feeling
Right.
a lot more comfortable now, so
What do you
Yeah.
mean? Changing?
just comfortable in general.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, we had a bit. Funny enough, Charlotte, we had a bit of West Ham, didn't we, Russ?
We did.
We had a little trip over West Ham.
Amongst other things, we spent some nice time with our dad.
Yeah, so a bit of family stuff, bit of West Ham, bit of what else did we do? Bit of work.
Yeah, a bit of work.
Bit of work. Yeah, so it was all good. And then
Very enjoyable.
and I don't know whether you know this, Charlotte, but we like a random nonsensical chat every now and again. So we did a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
On that note, let's move on to
Kindness news.
Before we move on to kindness news, you're now in your new flat up in Glasgow. Tell us a bit about that. What was it like?
Yeah, it's good. I've got a lot of books. Like to the point where I've filled an entire shelf and a half and another one. No, I'm joking. I haven't got that many books. I've got about a shelf and a half of books. And I've sorted them by category, so genre, and then within genre they're sorted by author, because I have crime novels, and then I have Agatha Christie novels, which is same category, different author, and then I've got a section just for the text I have to read for uni, which takes up about a third of a shelf just for this semester alone.
Yeah, are they quite heavy, the textbooks, or are they like?
No, I haven't got that many textbooks, and if I get textbooks, I tend to get Kindle. I'm just talking about my reading materials for like English.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 weeks in, and I've had to read 2 full books already. I've got to read another one before Tuesday.
So what's on the reading list? What books on the reading list?
So the first 2 weeks was about plays. So it's Dr. Faustus and A Taste of Honey. So Dr. Faustus is about this guy. He's a doctor. He is a medical doctor, but he's also just a really studious academic, except he thinks that because he's not like rich and wealthy and all powerful, like God doesn't love him or something. And like he's got money and he's powerful in the academic sense, like he's respected and stuff like that, but because like he's not all powerful and like a billionaire, he thinks, well, God isn't giving me what I want. I'll turn to the devil instead, and he makes a deal with the devil. And he's actually where we get the term Faustian bargain.
Yeah.
And like at the end, he sort of like pleads for his life in heaven, and God just ignores him.
That's right, mate. If you were to make a deal with the devil, Raz, what would you ask for?
Deal with the devil?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How about you, Charlotte? What would you ask for?
That's a difficult question, isn't it?
I was actually asked this while studying this text. and I don't think I actually know. Let me tell you some things that he did with his power that he got from the devil. Flew on dragons.
Floor dragons.
Flew on dragons.
Flew on dragons.
Punched the Pope.
Right.
Punch the Pope.
Yeah, this is a
This is in the
serious.
book. This is in
Yep.
the book.
Yep, this is in the book. He punched the Pope. He made a horse out of hay, sold it to some guy, and then was like, "Beware! Don't take the horse into water." And the guy was like, "Well, that's curious. I'm going to take the horse immediately into water." And then he almost drowned because his horse turned into hay in the middle of the.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He used his devil powers to eat an entire cart full of hay. So just a lot
Is
of.
that related stuff that he did? I mean, look, my, if I did a deal with the devil, my taste would be a lot more simple. I think it's like unlimited calamari and a curly whirly. It's what I was for.
In exchange for 24 years of life and then being dragged to hell forever.
Oh, I don't know.
You wouldn't ask for no pigs in blankets.
Well, no, right. This is the thing, right? I love pigs in blankets, but only when it's Christmas, right? So you've got to. It's a seasonal food. It does. Now the problem is, as regular listeners of the podcast will know, because we've spoken about it on the podcast before, and you guys will know. I think Christmas starts at the start of December, right? I like Christmas, but it's got to start at the appropriate time.
Oh, so you're talking about doing a deal with the devil right now, not a deal with the devil whenever you want to do a deal with the devil.
Well, no, because when you do a deal with the devil, it lasts 24 years, you said, Charlotte, didn't you?
Well, you can ask for however long you want, but in this book, this guy.
Oh, it's for 1,000,000 years then.
I don't know if they're that forgiving. Most deals with the devil in like media is like, and you have 10 years to live. And this guy, for some reason, specifically asked for 24 years. So I don't know.
Yeah. But the problem is, even though I think Christmas has its place, Gregory Porter, who you guys know I absolutely love, has put out a Christmas song, and it's a bit of a banger. So
Gotta get it in early.
I'm enjoying that too early. What are we? Start of October, and I'm quite enjoying that.
And let's get out of the way.
Well, exactly. That's true. And the reality is, we rewatched the film version of the musical Matilda the other day.
Oh, yeah, Matilda.
Love Matilda.
Have you seen the movie version?
The original, not the musical one.
No, the musical one's brilliant, Russ.
Musical's so good. I remember watching it with Mum, and she started crying. Actually, both of you started crying at When I Grow Up.
Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. Now, part of the reason the musical version of Matilda, I think, is so good is because it's written by a guy called Tim Minchin. And Tim Minchin has been around for 20 odd years in terms of doing stuff in the UK. And my all-time favourite Christmas song is a Tim Minchin song called White Wine in the Sun. If you haven't had a listen, give it a Spotify search. It is absolutely brilliant. So I actually, at the start of October, was playing White Wine in the Sun the other day as well.
If we're talking about new songs that came out that we're obsessed with, I've been listening to a lot of AJR again recently because they released a song called God Is Really Real. And their new album's coming out soon. So I wanted to get a refresh on all their old stuff. So I've just been like putting on the playlist when I'm walking about places. But they released this song, and it's this really beautiful song that they wrote because their dad was ill, and they like had a plan to put it on the album. I think I can't remember the specific details, but they released it about a week after he died, and
good.
They were in the middle of writing it when he was you know, and it's this really beautiful song about like it only feels like God or karma is real when it hurts, when it actually hits you. And like one of the last lines of the song talks about like we'll sing this song to you when you finally get out of bed when you're better, and it's just a beautiful song.
Okay, I'm looking that up as as we speak. And on that note, we are definitely going to move on to
Kindness news.
Scotland edition. And Air Charity, let me give you the thing. Is Air in Scotland? It is. Air Charity. I've just done the Scotland edition and realised that I was only 99.2% sure that Air was in Scotland. Air Charity, overwhelmed by the kindness of salt supply for garden facelift. And Air Charity are indebted to a salt supply firm for helping to get their garden in tip-top condition. Enable Air District praised the work of Peacock Salt, who contributed to the garden's renovation and maintenance work at the charity's Sutherland House base. The garden now boasts lawns, patios, soft landscape and shrubbery borders, and will help the charity host social activities and events for people with learning disabilities. We were overwhelmed by the kindness shown to our charity by Peacock Salt, which came to us completely out of the blue. For a small community charity like our own, it's far from an everyday occurrence for us to benefit from local help like this. We must also compliment the staff on the quality of their work, from electrical to tree surgery, paint to paving, seats of landscaping. Well done to each and everyone. Now, the reason I love that, and this happens and is unsung every day of the week, all across the world, but certainly in the UK, because I know that in our local area this happens quite a lot, and there's some organisations that I'm involved with that that do a lot of this work. Is just local people helping local community groups who are doing good, and businesses doing well, but also doing good and getting involved in sort of supporting charities. Just the amazing stuff you can do with a few hours at a time, few pairs of hands, and some stuff to make an environment look pleasant and usable by the local community is amazing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I know they built a community garden up the road from me, and that looks quite interesting. But what's surprising is the amount of people that get involved.
Yeah.
And they're looking to start one in Swapham, which is like just down the road. Based on that model.
Yeah, and I mean, look, getting involved in the community and being kind to others improves our well-being. So it's a really good way of making sure that we're looking after ourselves. But it just enhances everything in the community. I know that locally we've done some work in the sensory gardens and school projects and stuff like that. And you want the people around you to have the facilities that, we're reliant on that, aren't we? What do you think, Charlotte?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of like stuff about like. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. You see a lot of stuff about like communities coming together to sort of do these kinds of things, and it sort of goes unnoticed. It flies under the radar. I've because of this. There's a lot of stuff that I like. There's a lot of I've really like using Instagram, mostly because of the picture format, and it's very fun. And I tend to stay away from like the stuff that people consider. Anyway, not the point.
You manage your engagement with Instagram.
I do, yeah. There's a lot of stuff on there that can be really negative, and I just don't follow the accounts that post that kind of stuff. So I get a lot of I follow a lot of good news accounts, because I do think you're right. There is a benefit to engaging with good news or consuming good news. And I've because I engage with a lot of those accounts, I get a lot of community stuff recommended to me on my FYI.
Yeah, the algorithm works.
The algorithm sees that I'm looking at that stuff, and you see shelter drives and the community coming together to I get a lot of animal shelter stuff, because I do also look at a lot of dogs and stuff. So you see whole communities coming together to make sure these animals get adopted and they get taken care of, and it's something that can't be done without the community, because as much as the organisation tries to do it, it doesn't work without community engagement and people all coming together to sort of make sure this thing happens, or the word's out there, and it's just a really important facet of what charities do.
And that, I mean, I suppose there's a couple of things there. I have now, and I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast before, deactivated my Twitter account.
Yeah.
So I have actually, because in a desire to manage, and again, there's an element, I think, of nuance here, because I do want to know what's going on in the world. I am interested in subjects where some of the news might be negative. I'm not switching myself off from sort of news sources. My experience, and again, I'd be interested in knowing what you guys think. My experience of Twitter was everything that I was sort of picking up on was contentious, and was them against us, and was all about not debate, because debate can be a good thing, but all about you said this and you're wrong. And I just don't think that brings us forward as humans, and actually makes us sadder, makes us less happy, and actually has a real negative impact on our lives. So I've decided to, even though at times Twitter was useful, and at the start it felt like I was on Twitter for probably 12 years, like a bit of a nice little community. It's changed over the years, I think, and therefore I'm not engaging with it anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, I've still got Twitter, but it's mostly because I have if an artist I like puts something out, it's usually on Twitter. Although a lot of artists are pulling off Twitter, though I don't think it's called Twitter anymore. I think it's called X or something, because people are stealing the data or something. I can't remember the exact details. People are using their images for other things on Twitter, and something in the but we've seen a lot of people move from Twitter recently, in online spaces, because every website has its sort of fandom culture, and we've seen a lot of people sort of migrate from other places to, I think the big one at the moment is Tumblr.
Okay.
So a lot of people have moved from Twitter and also Reddit to Tumblr, which is really interesting.
I did this weird move, Charlotte, to from away from Twitter towards this thing called, I don't know if you've heard of it. I mean, it's a niche trend, real life. I just spend more time in real life now, and it's kind of right. I quite enjoy it.
You do you, mate.
I know that your generation struggles with that concept, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like that.
No, I know how to live a real life.
Right, on that note, let's move on to the interview. I'm really pleased that we've got Ian Nicholson from Sanctus coming on. Sanctus do amazing work. Ian's one of the trustees over there. Let's hear all about it.
Ian, thank you for joining us so much for joining us on the Kindness Project. How are you today?
It's a real pleasure. Thanks very much, Chris. It's I'm looking forward to it. It's very kind of you to invite me on, and looking forward to sharing a bit about what I do.
Is this your first ever podcast?
I did. Yeah, it is. Actually, it is my first ever podcast. I listened to a number of them, but no, this is the first one I've been on. So,
What podcast do you like to listen to?
I like to listen to. There's some rugby podcasts I listen to. So there's a couple of BBC podcasts, and also one, The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby, which is James Haskell is the guy.
Okay.
Mike Tinder. Also been into politics, so I like the one called The News Agents, which has got John Sopel and Emily Mater. That's
really popular at the minute, isn't it?
It's really good, very good. They're now unshackled from the BBC.
Well, now they're ex-BBC, they're allowed to like express a bit more of an opinion, right?
And they certainly
makes it a bit, yeah.
I like the podcast format because it gives you a bit longer. The conversation can breathe. I think in a 10-minute interview, it can sometimes be a bit stifled, whereas in certainly the podcast I've listened to, it's more like just a chat between friends. And
this is why we like the format, because we think that I suppose part of the challenge with a lot of the media you consume is it's not particularly nuanced, is it? Yeah. Because you just haven't got the space to do it. But having those, as you say, those in-depth conversations are normally quite good. So I listen to podcasts whilst I'm on my bike ride to work. If I'm out and about on the bike, sort of exercising, if I'm walking the dog, or if I'm on the tube. Where do you listen to yours?
In the bath, quite often. I lie back in the bath and relax, so I quite like that. I'm not as athletic as you. I go for walks, so I'll quite often have some earphones in and listen to the podcast there. In the car, quite often.
Yeah.
I quite often like to listen to in the car. I mean, I just find it it depends the mood I'm in. I think if I'm into something that's a bit more light-hearted, it's like the Rugby World Cup at the moment. So you listen to podcasts that are related to that. If I'm in more of if something has happened, back to the news agents thing, if something's happened that's a bit more in the news, or I want to find a different angle on it, I'll listen to that. It's again, as I say, it's a fabulous way of just getting a bit of it's chilling out, isn't it? It's relaxing. It's refueling. It's not, your mind's not thinking about your day-to-day activities. It's thinking about something else, which I think is always a good thing.
Lovely. Well, we know you're a podcast fan, but just so our audience know a bit more about you, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I say my name's Ian Nicholson. My day job, I'm an estate planner, which is basically wills, lasting power of attorneys, trusts, that sort of thing. In the dim distant past, I used to do similar to you, Chris, financial services. I just decided 4 or 5 years ago just to slightly change track and concentrate on the wills and estate planning side. In terms of other things, I used to be quite an avid sportsman, so I used to play a reasonable level of rugby, a reasonable level of cricket. Like most people, as they get, so I say, a little bit more mature, it's turned towards golf. But I'm quite competitive. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. I'm very competitive. So I enjoy golf because it's just what used to be the team game is now obviously an individual sport, but I enjoy that. But yeah, so and back to work. Yeah, been an estate planner. I'm a sole trader, so it's just me on my own. Used to have a business. Now I just decide it's just me. I can tell myself off if I want, and no one else can tell me what to do, which is quite nice. But yeah, it's just enjoy life. Really, it's a work-life balance. I think it's
and I think I suppose I've been having a few interesting conversations over the last couple of days about this, actually. So one of them is about sort of when we get a little bit older. I'm slightly younger than you, Ian. Only a couple of years, but slightly younger. When we get a little bit older, we realise how important that balance is in our lives. When did that come for you? When did you start thinking about that?
Probably only quite recently. I think I'm not saying I had an epiphany, but again, 4 or 5 years ago, I was reasonably stressed in what I was doing in financial services, and I just needed not a break, but I needed to have a bit of a change. And it just literally, almost like a light bulb moment. And I just thought, hang on a sec, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Am I literally putting, working 7 days a week? So I just took a step back, then just got back to doing what I enjoyed doing, which was meeting people, sorting out problems, but doing it at my pace and doing it when I wanted. And I just think the balance is so important. And I think I say this all the time now. My job isn't. I haven't got a job. It's a way of life. I don't look as if I'm not employed, obviously, but it's not a job. It is literally a way of life. If I want to have a day off, I have a day off. If I don't, I don't. If I want to work on a Saturday, I work on a Saturday. Or it's down to me. And I just think when I speak to friends of mine that are either retired or still working and are literally doing the slog of 5 days a week up to London or wherever, the attitude is different. And I just think, just embrace it. We're only here once. And I think what I don't want to do is stop work and then think, oh, what am I going to do now? And just vegetate and watch the telly. You can only play so many rounds of golf. And I just think it just...
I mean, you could get your handicap right down, but I agree with you. It's just like, it's about that balance, isn't it?
It is. No, it is. And it's also about keeping the little grey cells working as well.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing worse. And you see it, I'm sure you've seen it with clients when they retire and they haven't got a plan. And I'm not saying they vegetate, but they're not the same person. If they haven't got a plan, it's very easy just to slip into the wake up late, watch daytime telly, go and have a coffee at the same time every day, and just every day slips into the other.
Yeah, no sort of focus, and certainly that's something I'm thinking about and funny enough writing about, as I think I might mention to you in terms of the plan for the next book.
Yeah.
However, one of the other things that I've been speaking to a lot of people about, particularly people who've been lucky in life and have done well from a financial perspective, is how also, and I apply this to you as well, Ian, and it's the reason you're a guest on the podcast, is that focus on doing a bit of good in the world as well. That focus on saying, well, look, you know what, we've been lucky, we've done okay. How do we sort of give back? When did you get to that point, or has that always been part of your life?
Well, I've always been, without sounding massively cliched, I've always been someone that likes to give without any need for recognition. So I get a buzz out of helping people, and that sounds cliche, but I do. I just think this was formalised. It was obviously while we're talking today. I just did it. So I'd help people out, trying to find them opportunities, whatever. But there was nothing that ever sort of came across to me as if to say, oh, well, actually, that's what I want to do. And as I say, with the charity that I'm involved in now, it literally came out of the blue. It wasn't planned. I actually got introduced to them via someone in the same networking group that I'm in, who just was saying, can we have a one-to-one, can we have a chat, not about the charity, but just about stuff. And it just sort of sometimes things in life you don't plan, do you? And they just sort of fall into
serendipity, right?
That's it.
It just lands on your lap, and you think, actually, this might be a good opportunity to take. So that charity is Sanctus.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Sanctus.
Right. I could talk for about 5 hours on this, but I'll keep it brief. Sanctus is
Ian, when we say podcasts are long form, I don't know if I've got 5 hours scheduled in the diary, mate.
No, I haven't.
As long as you feel comfortable.
No. Sanctus is a charity. We're based in Chelmsford. It's in essence supports the homeless and the vulnerable in Chelmsford and the surrounding area. It started back 2000. Where are we now? 2023. It started back in 2011. It started in a little sandwich shop that was in, if any of your listeners know Broomfield Road in Chelmsford, it was in Broomfield Road in Chelmsford. It was a little sandwich shop. And the owners, one of whom used to be we call them service users. So someone that's been on either homeless or vulnerable, we call them service users. One of the owners had been a service user, and she and her husband or partner set the sandwich shop up, not for the basis of being a charity, but just as a sandwich shop. And as the years went on, this wasn't in 2011, this is before then, service users, homeless people, vulnerable, but we came along to get food. And eventually they thought, actually, we're going to turn this into a charity. So in 2011, they turned into a charity, called it Sanctus, and it operated there for 8-9 years. Again, a very small, it could probably, We still served probably about 70, 80 people a day. And I've stressed what Sanctus does is we don't do accommodation, but we do food and other mental health and other services. But anyway, the initial sort of sandwich shop that then turned into the charity was looking after maybe 60, 70 people a day in a very small premises. The lease was coming up for renewal on there in 2021. But the building next door, which is a 3-story building that actually used to be a Barclays Bank and then had gone through some changes to be commercial restaurants as well, that was derelict. And so the trustees at the time, I wasn't a trustee at the time, but the trustees at the time approached the landlord, who was just a family, and said, "Would you be prepared to give it to us?" And they, well, not give it, but let us use it, and they did. And so in 2021, we took over the lease. We got some money from the local council to refurb it, so it was totally refurbed. And to be fair, that the landlords helped as well. So the entire building was refurbed in 2021. So what it is now is a 3-story building. The ground floor is in essence a cafe.
Yeah.
So it's very much like a cafe. So you walk in, there's a counter that's got food behind, it's like cans and stuff, almost like a food banky type thing behind it. There are tables that can seat probably 70 or 80 people. And in essence, what happens is service users can come in from 10 o'clock every day. Initially, they can have cereals, tea, coffee, toast, whatever. And then we serve every day, Monday to Friday, we serve a hot meal every day. Now, when I say serve a hot meal, I don't mean they stand in a line and it's like for want of a better word, a soup kitchen. We have chefs that come into we've got our own kitchen, which in essence used to be the vault in the bank. Yeah. And we have chefs that come in every day and prepare proper meals. And so we actually plate up the meals and serve them to the service users every day. And they can come in every day. They can just come in and have a meal and that's it, or they can come in. And again, we deal with people that are going through the worst of times. They could have drug issues, they could have drink issues, they could have domestic violence issues, they could have a whole range of mental health issues. And ultimately, Sanctus is a place of sanctuary. So they can come in. We're not statutory funded, so we don't have any ties on who we can look after. So literally, if someone comes to our door and they want a meal, we'll give them a meal. We don't question them. They can come in and have a meal. Once they're in there, now, if they just want to sit there all day and stay out the rain and eat, and that's absolutely fine. But the staff, the employees of Sanctus, the staff downstairs in the cafe, they're trained to build relationships with the service users. So the idea is that if they build a relationship with the service user who eventually wants to, whether it be come out of addiction or find somewhere to live or whatever, they will then refer them upstairs to what we call the hub. Yeah. And the hub is a series of offices, but are staffed again by Sanctus members and outside agencies, which help service users, again, get over addiction, drug issues, homelessness, if they've got mental health issues. So it very much is a case of someone coming in the door, totally new, who's at the lowest of the low. The idea is that over a period of time, with their agreement, we'll get them to a place where they want to be. And it's not easy. I mean, we used to open 7 days a week. We had to, nearly a year ago, go to 7 days a week. Let's go to 5 days a week purely because of the cost of living crisis. Yeah. But as I say, it's there to help the whole community, not just homeless. It's always been, ever since I've been involved with it, it's been Sanctus Homeless Charity. It's not just for the homeless. I mean, there are in Chelmsford, there's probably on the streets, probably about 30 or 40 people that are permanently on the streets. But we cover, I mean, every month we probably have upwards of 400 individuals that come in to see us for different things. Yeah. So as I say, it's a wide spectrum. We try and cover as much as we can.
Yeah, 100%. Right, there's a lot to cover off there. So let me start with the first question I've got. It's really interesting you mentioned about how you funded and the impacts that has on sort of the support you can give. Because I was having a conversation with a guy who runs a charity the other day, and he's actually given up £1 million a year in terms of income coming into his charity because it was NHS and even though the NHS were fantastic in terms of funding the support that it wanted to give to the community, they also put these restrictions on him, which meant that actually he couldn't help the way he wanted to. So it's a bit of a fine balance, that, isn't it?
That is, sorry about him. That's what's called statutory funding. So if you've got statutory funding like that, they will put constraints on what you can use it for. We're non-statutory, so we don't get any funding at all from anybody. We don't get any.
Talk to me a little bit about how Sanctus is funded.
Right. So I suppose there's three main areas. On the top end, that's what's called the bids. So we put bids in. We have a bid writing manager, and also, to be fair, some of the staff help as well. So you've got charitable trusts. So you've got charitable trusts that will have funds in millions. And they've been set up, and over the years, they maybe will have 4% a year that they make available to trust to charities. So we have bid writers, and we'll put bids in for specific. Now, sometimes it's for what's called, and maybe to educate your listeners if they're not aware of it, there's two types of funding in charities. There's what's called restricted and unrestricted. Now, unrestricted funds do what they say in the tin. You get the money in, and you can use it for whatever you want, and that's lovely because you can spend it on anything. There's then what's called restricted funds. Now, quite often with bid writing, you'll put a bid into a charitable trust, and you'll say, we want to have £20,000 a year to fund a member of staff. So you put a bid in, you'll explain what that member of staff does, how that member of staff can help a service user from when they first come in the door to when they first go out, to when they go out. And you put the bid in, and there'll be we have to have some much. It's not just a case of please give us the money because we need it. It has to be evidence based. So we keep stats of everything. We have stats on number of service users, how many meals we do, how many support sessions we do. So our bid writers will do that. That will go to the trustee board of the charitable trust, and they'll just assess them. And so that is the bigger funding. Now, we've been very lucky recently. We had a national lottery grant awarded. Which I'm quite happy to say we got 250,000 from it over 5 years, which is fabulous. But it took us 3 years to get that because, understandably, they want to be certain that it's. I know a lot of work goes into those bids, but also there's a lot of competition for the money, right? Absolutely. I mean, this is going to sound awful, but in lockdown, we were homeless charities were almost like flavour of the day because people were having struggles, so we were getting money hand over fist. Then had the war, the Ukraine war, and so people, understandably, wanted to put money towards those sort of causes. There's only so much in the pot. So, but as I say, with the bid writing, that is more a case of these charitable trusts. Obviously, have got these funds, but they do ask you to specify why you want them and how you're going to use them, and quite often as well, they're monitored. So you might have someone say, "Okay, we'll give you 20,000 a year to fund a member of staff, but every year, you then have to probably justify but show how that money's been used." But I'll stress again, that's more on the restricted side. But as I say, we have that's the bid writing side. So they're the big, anywhere from 5 to 200,000. I mean, they're tough, but what's actually quite good, and what the charitable in the not defence, but what the charitable trusts are great at is you'll sometimes put a bid in and it'll fail, but they'll feed you back on why it's failing.
So this is how you do it better next time, right?
Absolutely. They don't tell you what to write, but they say, well, actually, if you did this, and this, you've got a better chance.
So that's tier one. What's the other sort of stream?
Well, you go down from that. You've then got things like corporate funding. So you'll go out to the local business community. Companies have got what's called corporate social responsibility ethoses. So within their corporate ethos, they want to be able to help local good causes. So we'll go out with the local business community, educate them, for want of a better word, something like this. We'll educate them on what we do and how, by helping us, it can actually help them. Because, and that can be not just on funding, to be fair. I mean, obviously funding is great. If they can give us money, which is fabulous. But quite often, we all get, we had I can't remember their name, but we had a firm of accountants in Chelmsford that we met at a school's open day, believe it or not. to a private school. We actually went to a private school's, well, not open day, careers day. We were asked to go along. We met this other firm accountants who were, and one of the guys who used to be their head boy came over to us, was really interested. They regularly volunteer at Sanctus now. Now, as part of their corporate social responsibility, they get staff to come in, basically to see how the other half live. But what's happened is that those members of staff have now gone into their communities and their contacts, and we're now getting funding from them. Because they've gone out to them and said, look, I've been into this place, Sanctus, I never knew it was there. I've lived in Chelmsford 10 years, never knew it was there. Go and have a look. So there's corporate funding where we try and get people to do either regular donations. I'd have a great example. We had Essex Police.
Yeah.
Essex Police, their new recruits every year have like a charity that they sort of
chosen charity of the year.
Now the cohort that have just passed out recently, I think they raised like $3,500 for us.
Lovely.
Now again, doesn't sound a fortune, but if you've got lots of those coming in, and again they're unrestricted, so you don't have to use them for any particular purpose.
That's the interesting thing. So we did it was yesterday. We did another interview. And the guy we interviewed was the guy who's the MD of London Air Ambulance.
Right.
So really interesting. Didn't know much of it. No, I've got to tell you, Ian, the most exciting bit, right, was after we stopped recording the podcast. So they're helicopters on the roof of the Royal London in Whitechapel.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy who's the MD. Funny enough, my friend was in there recently, so I've been visiting once a week. He said to me, next time you're down, Chris, let me know. I'll take you on the roof to see the helicopter. And I was like, that was worth it. I did say to Russ after that it would be cheeky if I asked for a ride, and I wouldn't want them to waste the petrol. But just going and see the helicopter on the roof, I'm happy with. But the point that there was a serious point somewhere. The point I was making was the majority of their funding comes from, and they need to raise about 20 million a year. It's a bit more now actually because they've got to pay for some new helicopters, but they get small donations from 110,000 Londoners. So actually, like when you talk about those big donations, it makes a huge impact to the charity, but it's the mixture, isn't it? It's the combination of the large and the small.
Yeah. I mean, because I say the corporates, even within the corporates, we try and either do a lump sum or regular giving. So we'll say, do their staff want to do 25 quid a week or a month or something like that? So, I mean, they're the big ones. But then the bottom end, well, not bottom is the wrong word, but the other end would be like local community fundraising. So that is, it doesn't always, I'm saying that it's been better this year, but it doesn't always bring in fortunes. But what it does do, it brings up awareness again. So we do a beer festival. We'll do, we'll go and support a donkey dart or whatever. We'll do we'll do stuff which doesn't bring in a fortune in terms of money, but again it's about name awareness and getting people aware of what's going on. And we've found we've made more of a concerted effort the last year to do that. We've got one of the staff who's actually the cafe manager, but Tony, but she's actually sort of taken on that role as well, and she's been fabulously successful. I mean, but we also do things like we recently had a golf day. So we had a golf day. We raised a couple of thousand through that. We have, last year we did sponsored skydiving. We got about 8,000 out of that. So it's always about getting ideas. And sometimes, nice, Chris, people just come in and give us a check. It's fabulous. Yeah. We have people there's a lovely old boy in Chelmsford. He just literally walks in once a year. He gives a check of 5,000. He says, there you go. And
I think you're right though. And we're, I think we're both probably sort of conscious of this, and the accountants are in the same boat. If you've been lucky enough to do all right, you probably get that the right thing to do is, in whatever way, time or money or a combination of the two, just give a bit back. It's one thing that I'm trying to teach my girls, and we it's an interesting. I don't know if I mentioned this when we met. I dragged them out on I'm part of the local round table in Hornchurch, and we do a fundraiser for the food banks every year at Christmas. And the food banks approached us just before the summer and said, "Look, we really need a bit of extra help because of cost of living and what's going on." So we did a fundraiser, and I made them door knock,
Right,
and collect shopping and stuff like that for 20th of July. We did it, and I told them it was going to be 2 hours. 4 hours later, they're still out. I had to bribe them with magnums and coke to keep them going.
So that was part one of the interview with Ian. I'm really excited about sharing the amazing work that Sanctus do. And therefore, we've got part two next week. We're looking forward to sharing that. However, tis the end
It's the end.
of another podcast.
Yes.
But the end is never really the end, because the end ends with joke of the week.
What are we talking about for subject this week, lads?
Oh, so I think, what did we talk about this week, Raz, that we could give to Charlotte as a joke? Football, where's Dan?
Yeah.
We could talk about.
That's a bit niche, though, isn't it? Football
It is a
in
bit.
general.
It is a bit niche. Football in general, or we could talk about Twitter, or we could talk about, what else did we talk about?
Family members.
Family.
We talked about Ninja products.
Oh, we always
That'd
talk
be proper
about
niche.
Yeah. But yeah, all good. And while Charlotte is doing that, tell us about you, because what our listeners can't see is you've had a very short haircut, Russ.
Sorry, just quickly. I had a parcel delivered, but I wanted to comment on the social media.
Yeah.
So I don't use social media at all. I don't post anything. But I flick through Facebook probably twice a week, 3 times a week. But I don't post anything, and I don't use social media in that sense. I'm not a member of Instagram or I've got a Twitter account. I never go on it, but I just don't understand it. I don't.
What do you?
I don't understand the point in sharing your life with other people. I can't.
I completely get that. I mean, we're social animals, aren't we? So sharing our thoughts, opinions, and feelings and stuff, and actually,
I understand how communicating through the medium and the internet works.
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around sort of posting pictures of where I am and what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Everybody looking through them, and
I mean, it does. It always felt weird for me that if it was like 30 years ago, and you said, "Do you want to come around my house and look at my holiday photos?" I would go no, and now everybody gets to see all of your photos. And actually, I think we are curious about other people's lives. Now the problem is, even though I'm not on many social media, I'm on LinkedIn, but many social medias anymore. I was out Friday night at a beer festival, like a Oktoberfest event. So what did you say?
I see the pictures.
Well, right, here we go.
This is the other thing, the other problem. I like looking through other people's pictures. I don't like the thought of somebody looking through mine.
Right, so even though I'm not on social media anymore, because Cassie gets tagged in all of the photos, everybody knows what I'm up to anyway, but I can't see what they're looking at. So it is an interesting experience. But
I don't post a lot of pictures of myself. Most of the pictures of myself that are on the internet are stuff that Mum posts, or someone in the family. I don't mind, because sometimes I'll scroll back through Mum's
it's memories, isn't it?
Albums and stuff.
You know what? I kept on saying this, but I need to invest some proper time in it. I need to get some photo books done.
Yeah.
So we've got these like really tangible ways of looking at old photos. I think I've got 2 years from the part was 20, but I've got about 15 to 20 years worth of images.
Yeah.
So it's a job. It's a job working out what photos you want to keep and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Most of my time online, I don't spend in like the spheres where it's like, and everyone knows who you are. That's not the fun side of the internet. The fun side of the internet is where you like have people talking about like, and here's a really interesting book I read, and here's my personal take on it. And then you scroll through like the tag for it, and it's everyone's personal takes on this book or this show or this game they played or the art they've made about this show or book.
That's exactly what I use it for, but
that's what I use it for.
But game content that for games I play, like Humankind or
Should we do the joke? Should we do the joke?
It's a football joke. You okay with that?
Go on then.
I tried to find a West Ham joke, and I did find quite a few, but they were just slagging off West Ham and going well in this call.
What's your football joke?
What do you call someone who stands inside goalposts and stops the ball rolling away?
Rolling.
A net.
Oh God! We're back to the rubbish joke.
That is quite bad.
That is quite awful. And on that note, my friends, have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the Kindness Project soon.
Bye.
Bye.